Good evening. I want to welcome everybody for taking time out of your busy evenings to come and share your thoughts with us tonight. I also want to extend thanks to the Kelseyville Riviera Homeowners Association for sponsoring this meeting this evening. You'll notice a group of women in teal, is that teal or turquoise? I don't know, some bluish colored t-shirt. These are our AmeriCorps volunteers, and they are going to help facilitate our small group session. This looks like an intimate group, but I am still very encouraged because when we've had intimate groups elsewhere, we have still gathered a plethora of valuable data and helpful insights that will help guide us through the Lake County 2050 General Plan Update process. My name is Mireya Turner. I'm the Director of Community Development for the County of Lake. We also have a few of our staff members around, and they'll be helpful to answer questions as we go along. I also want to thank Supervisor Peiska for joining us this evening. It always helps to have a policymaker in the room when we're talking about community visioning. Additionally, I see a couple members of our General Plan Advisory Committee, Captain Duncan, our fire representative, and April, Leiferman, thank you. She represents the public at large for District 5. So thank you so much for spending that extra time to really dig into our local community planning. I'm having a bit of a transition because last week we had additional staff available, and I was handing the microphone over to them right at this moment. So
now put on your other hat.
Here we go. All right. We have a slideshow for you that has gives you a brief overview of why is the general plan and the local area plan update so important, and what does it matter to your life. After that, we will have a brief Q&A session in case you have any questions from the presentation. We will then get to the really important part of our evening, and that is breaking out into small groups. It looks like we might have 2, maybe 3 groups here, so we can shuffle around a little bit just to make sure we've got enough public members with our staff. So we want to hear from you, not our staff, so feel free to we're slinging things against the wall. You're going to have 4 different questions that I'll go over in just a moment. And I really think that it's going to be a great time. We really want to hear what you cherish about the Rivieras, what you'd like to see changed in the future. And these items will be very helpful as we continue through our process. So we'll start with the slides. Oop. Oh, you already started with the slides. Okay.
Well, Tanya started, she starts at number 4.
Very good. We'll start at number 4. Okay. Awesome. So Lake County 2050. This is a comprehensive update to our general plan and all 8 of our local area plans. You'll see in the map behind me that the entire county is divvied up into 8 planning areas, excluding the cities of Clear Lake and Lakeport because they have their own visioning processes. The 8 planning areas, which are super tiny there, so I'll tell you what they are. We have Cobb Mountain, Kelseyville, Lakeport, which is the areas northwest and south of the city limits, Lower Lake, Middletown. Here we are, Rivieras, which includes all of the Rivieras subdivisions. Shoreline communities, which starts in Nice, goes all the way down along 20 and ends up past Clear Lake Oaks and includes some parts of unincorporated areas of Clear Lake. And then you zoom back up to the top of the lake, and we've got Upper Lake and Nice in their own area plan. The update will also include environmental review through a draft EIR. And additionally, on the same timeline is the preparation of a climate adaptation plan. So this is really exciting because we're working on studies that are going to support that climate adaptation plan that will talk a lot about the ways that our communities have been impacted by climate. And we'll start focusing on options, plans, and goals that will help us to have more resiliency in the future. Next slide, please. General plan, what is it? A general plan is a long-range plan, about 20 years. It's mandated by the state to be updated no later than every 20 years. Sometimes it's called the Constitution for Development and Conservation. It's an overarching framework for all the detailed regulations and guidelines and other plans that also affect how development happens. It's important that it supply consistent direction so that everybody has some consistency and idea of where we're going in the future. It also documents baseline environmental conditions. That's important because everybody needs a shared understanding of our starting point for the plan. Next slide, please. There are many components. You'll see on the right or left-hand side, there are required topics that the state is looking for in all of our general plan updates. Come on in. There are also there's also the option in different jurisdictions to create your own optional elements. These are elements that each jurisdiction thinks are so important a part of the county that we need to have them covered. And in this case, for Lake County, it includes our aggregate resources management plan. That's the one that regulates how we're extracting natural resources from our quarries and our creeks, as well as agricultural resources, our geothermal resources, which covers our south part, the geothermal activity that we have in that area of the county, public facilities and services, and water resources, which is specific to our Clear Lake. You'll see a couple, oh no asterisks, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Oh yeah, housing. Both the housing and the aggregate resource management plan are on a separate timeline, or on a separate path. So the housing actually has to be updated a little sooner than the rest of our general plan. And aggregate resource management plan, we're still applying for grants to be able to cover that. It has a lot of very specific field industry technological stuff. So next slide, please. What are our local area plans? Now, the local area plans are a part of the general plan. They are every bit as important, and they focus on a number of criteria at our community level. We have decided, actually, to sort of switch things up this time. Sometimes you'll see the general plan is the most robust document. That's where your land use goes, your housing element, things like that. And then your area plans in some jurisdictions are like teeny tiny little things. But as everybody knows, our local area plans had gotten very outdated by the time it was time to get started on our general plan update. And because of that, it made good sense to sort of flip things around a little bit and put the more robust documents in our local area plans, and then fill in the general plan, making sure we have all of our mandated elements. So you'll see them, oh, wait. Next slide, please. Okay, so you'll see how they're broken up. On the left-hand side, we've got our county-wide elements, health and safety, noise, geothermal, agricultural resources, water resources, housing, and the aggregate resources management plan. But then over on the local area plans, you'll see land use, which is usually the meatiest part of it all, circulation, so we're looking at transportation issues, open space, conservation and recreation, environmental justice, which we'll cover in a slide in just a moment, public facilities and services, and economic development. And at that very bottom part, you'll see the special study area with the two little boxes next to it. Special study areas, and there can be up to 4 in each planning area. These are more detailed policy and design guidelines for certain like little micro parts of a local area plan. So like in the shoreline communities area plan, we have a few of them where the previous area plan, local area plan committees had decided they wanted to sort of create community centers. And so they created this one project area, the Strand, the Promenade, where they focused a lot of the community zoning then, or the community commercial zoning. And so that's kind of what a special area is. Next one, please. Excellent. Land use map. Okay, this is the beefy part. This usually gets most of the attention. And it's the most interesting part to a lot of people who don't usually, live and die by planning like me. So the reason why land use is so important is because this is actually the regulations that guide people, and they tell you what you can do to develop your property in different ways. So this is it also adds basic parameters of how densely or intensely land use can be developed through either like your land cover ratios or the number of houses you can build, that sort of thing. The general plan land use map, which, looks a lot like that, is also the guideline for the future zoning map. And the zoning ordinance and the zoning map is where we start getting into like serious nitty-gritty regulations that sort of enforce or roll out the vision that is expressed in the general plan land use map. So where you see sort of low density residential in the general plan land use, you're going to see R1 in the zoning ordinance. Where you see industrial, you're going to see our M's, our service commercial or our industrial zoning maps reflected. Those two must correspond. They must be synthesized and consistent. Next slide. Okay. Environmental justice element. This is a new element required by state law. And you can think of it as the basic right of everyone to live, work, go to school, play, and worship in a clean and healthy environment. State law recognizes low-income communities, communities of color, and tribal communities have experienced a combination of factors with results that today causes them to struggle with both a disproportionate burden of pollution and health impacts, as well as disproportionate social and economic disadvantages like poverty or housing instability. Communities in California facing that specific combination of challenges are termed disadvantaged communities. And under state law and the focus of the general plan environmental justice element, the goal is to improve the conditions in those communities. I wanted to make sure I got that exactly right. This was how the previous staff who actually made this PowerPoint slide, she really nailed it there. So sorry if I'm reading to you. Next slide, please. Local area plans. These are part, again, of the general plan that focus on more localized planning areas. So these are community-level visioning documents. Whoops, totally skipped that one. Oh, because it'd help if I flip the page. One moment. Technical difficulties. All right. Senate Bill 1000. Thank you. Oh, and also a big thanks to Gilbert Rangel. He is here. He has been coming to every one of our meetings so that we can offer on-site translation services where needed. It is our total top priority goal that we gather as much input from everybody, no matter what language you're speaking, that we can, so that we have a true community-wide visioning. So thank you, Gilbert. And he's also keeping me in line. Okay. So for environmental justice, we need to establish policy guideline to do the things that are in the bullet points behind me, which is reduce pollution exposure and improve air quality, promote public facilities, promote food access, promote safe and sanitary homes, and promote physical activity. Now, this can't be a top-down process, and that is one reason why it's essential that we communicate with our disadvantaged communities and include them in our visioning process. Next slide, please. So how do general plan and local area plans affect you? I kind of covered it. I was jumping around a little earlier, but our general plan land use map and our local area plans affect us every day. It tells you what the community sees as a future option for developing certain or pretty much all of our parcels. It talks about how our roadways are designed and improved, if we have a park here or there, and how it's maintained. It also helps tell us how to reduce and mitigate the risks to your property from hazards. And it also talks about how cultural resources and natural resources are to be conserved. Next slide, please. Oh, that was the list I just read you. Next slide, please. Environmental review. The draft of the general plan and all 8 local area plans together will undergo environmental review that covers and describes the potential impacts on these new plans that we're doing. It also talks about alternative land uses, and it also identifies ways to mitigate or reduce significant impacts to being less than significant. Now, this is another public document, just like our community visioning documents are. And so throughout the EIR process, the environmental impact report preparation process, there will be a number of opportunities for the public to comment, whether it be the scope of the EIR, which we had an early meeting early on, or anything within that EIR. When you can't fall asleep at night, you want to pull out the EIR and take a look at it. Something might jump out at you. You might say, well, sometimes you might be reading it and you'll think, well, but they didn't talk about this, or they didn't talk about that. That's valuable data. So while you're not sleeping, you want to get onto our county website, lakecounty2050.org, and type in your comment. Or you could save it. Either way, make sure you get us your ideas, because it's only together that we're actually going to catch everything. Also, a public review, the initial 30-day scoping period, was where people came to our meeting to see what we were going to analyze and told us things that we were missing. That was great. That was a good 30-day. There's going to be a minimum of 45 days of the draft EIR, closer towards the end. And this EIR, this draft EIR, must be certified before any of our planning documents are able to be certified themselves. Next slide, please. Excellent. Okay, the Lake County 2050 process. This is a 3-year process. We kicked it off in the fall of last year, 2023. Right now, the county-wide elements are already in progress, and we do anticipate a draft, the draft elements this fall. Then the meeting and initiation, or this meeting is actually the initiation of the local area plan process. We're going to identify key issues through the questions that we're asking you later. And those key issues are going to help guide us with the policy and land use options that are going to address those issues by this fall. We'll have a draft ready. The full draft of the local area plans, the preparation is going to go through spring 2025. That's when we're really going to be able to start preparing the bulk of the environmental impact report, because that's when we'll have what we have decided is going to be the vision. And we'll publish the draft EIR anticipated in the spring of 2026. That goes through public review, as well as the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors, with hopefully an anticipated adoption by the fall of 2026. Next slide, please. There are quite a few ways that we want you to participate. This is the best first start, coming to our local area plan community workshop. We're also going to have stakeholder focus group meetings, and we're going to figure out what stakeholders, we haven't fleshed that out yet, because what we're doing is listening to what the important key issues are as we're going through this first round of our local area plan community workshops. And we're going to find the areas of expertise that address those key issues. Those will be our stakeholder meetings. We have general plan advisory committee meetings. It's a appointed body of 15 members that have 5 meetings through the entire process. Those are public meetings. Planning Commission meetings, Board of Supervisors meetings. Additionally, back to that website, lakecounty2050.org. There are surveys there right now. You can sign up for a notification list to get our e-blasts, which we promise won't be all the time, as well as anytime you have a comment that can go there. And our upcoming events are also listed on that website. And then there was one other detail that didn't make the slide because it actually came afterwards. The Board of Supervisors, a couple meetings ago, established local area plan advisory committees. Now this is one committee per planning area. So 8 committees, 9 members on each committee. That would be an excellent way if you're interested in really talking together about where do the community growth boundaries going to go. So that's where's our infrastructure planned, like our municipal water and wastewater. Where are we planning that to go in the next 20 years? Do we want to change our design guidelines for how our businesses look? Things like that. That's where the local area plan advisory committee or a LAPAC is really going to get involved. We will, we do have applications there. Yep, Tammy's being Havana. There we go. Applications up at the front table. Please feel free to apply. We're going to collect applications through the end of May with board appointments in mid-June. Next slide, please. Before we break for Q&A, or the question and answers on anything I just covered, I want to go over again just what we're going to be doing after that, which is breaking into our small groups. Next slide, please. Oh, good job. Thank you. So these are the 4 questions we're going to cover. The first one is, what is it that you really cherish about this community? What do you want to see preserved? The second one, what do you like to see changed in our community? Where are our needs? Where are our challenges? The next one after that is thinking about the land use mapping that we have for the Rivieras. Do you have any changes that you want to see in the way that land is designated? This could be more commercial, less commercial, higher density housing, lower density housing, things like that. And then lastly, taking a look at the overall boundaries of the Riviera's area plan. Do you feel that that still accurately represents the Riviera's community today? So those are the questions that our facilitators are going to help you through. And with that, if anyone has any questions on what I just presented, Tammy has a microphone. All right, I want to be very respectful of your time. Yes, April.
We just have one question. We're trying to promote people to do this survey. Is there a place where we can look to see how we're doing and see how much we need to goose people to continue to do the survey?
Unfortunately, go right ahead, Tammy.
The AmeriCorps team is going to be entering those.
Tammy, turn your mic on.
Mike's not on.
Okay, the AmeriCorps team is going to be entering those, and we just made this handy dandy. Instead of a thermometer, it's a hiker climbing up a hill. So that will be available after today.
It may not assist you in goosing particular residents. However, what I think would be awesome is just continual encouragement in your newsletters. Make sure that it's got that QR code to make it as easy as possible for people. If they just have 2 minutes, can just go onto that website and get that done. That'd be awesome.
And we have cards here today, too, if you wanted to take a couple. Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
All right, we're going to have 45 minutes for our small group, and we will... Oh, right. So at the end of those 45 minutes, we'll come back together and report back by table or by group so that we can make sure we're capturing everything that people covered. Good idea. And please pick a spokesperson that is not our staff, because we, again, want to really hear from you. Please pick a spokesperson for your group to report back when we get into back into our large group. And also, we have ways to advertise with our license plate holders, which has our lakecounty2050.org website. And I love Lake County on the bottom. So feel free, take one, take two, share them around. We'd love to see them as we're driving around the county. And with that, Shannon will help us.
These two tables here, and maybe we could get just a, and then
And do our reporting back. Let's call this table 1, and back there's table 2. We'll give it a moment, and then let me get you a microphone. Okay. Nope, we're right here first. George. Excellent. Okay, George, so for the items we want to preserve, what we love about the Rivieras.
The lake is number 1, just to make it a little bit more usable. Let's see. Peaceful, okay, clean air. This is things that we like, the views, the rural aspect of it, easy access to the market, the small town feel. Those are things that we like.
Good. All right, and then number 2, what we'd like to see change. Challenges.
These are challenges. Okay, so fire insurance is going to be, it's an increasing problem. Let's see, the pesticide, herbicide regulations going into the lake, things like that. We're very concerned about the pollution, that the lake is becoming less usable, and it is the heart of our county. We need a better evacuation plan and signage. There are a lot of dead ends and so forth in this community, so people turn away from the fire and they get stuck down a dead end, they're trapped. So signage would be big. Roadside clearing, the vegetation and so forth, similar to what's going on along Soda Bay, but I know that's already going, but to get an extended plan to keep that going and working out throughout the community. The road conditions in this area need major help. They, I think the term we used was suck. And then, let's see, map changes, things we're looking at. We have no parks here in this community, and that's really kind of our biggest ask right now. We're looking for kind of a family park, more of a family environment within the community. Let's see, the former golf course seems to be a good place. We had the old marina. Neither of these were our use by permission from the owners at the time, but that's gone away, and we're trying to find new park areas. We're looking also park-wise, something that's more of a big family area that might have a soccer field or something like that, might have some shaded areas, hiking trails, things like that. Is this all still part of the same? A bark park, maybe it's pickleball, maybe it's a sport court, those types of things. What else we've got? These are... we were talking, possibly a little bit more some of the conveniences of a hardware store or something like that. A pharmacy might be good. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know if, maybe more fire, but I think we're fortunate to have it. Maybe up in the Buckingham end to revitalize that fire department. I don't know. There's a lot of, I guess, cars being abandoned up in that. There's an area up in the north by Soda Bay. Yep, that's a problem. That's public dumpsters was mentioned. And that's it so far. And I think that's it. Oh, boundary changes we just talked about, possibly adjusting to bring, the Point Lakeview? Yeah, possibly to bring that down to include a little bit more of that in the Riviera's boundary. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next table.
Well, we're going to totally agree about the best asset is our lake. We don't want the view from our lake to ever be blocked. We want to preserve it and its natural beauty. We also said we liked having a small little community school here, and we like being isolated in country and low density and residential. That's our culture, and we enjoy that. We want it to be enhanced and supported. So as far as challenges, you're going to hear a lot of repeats here. When we have not a lot of activities for youth, I called it a recreational desert. If any of you have looked at the blue zones, they talk about even older people and not just young people socially doing things together in a recreational way, and that's where the recreational desert comes out. So we don't have a park even for people to walk their dogs or a dog park. We do not have any safe pedestrian roads, especially here on the way to school back, and it's not a safe place for kids to ride bikes. So if they're going to ride their bikes or even learn how to ride a bike, it's not going to be on our roads. And we're also really concerned in the morning when it's dark, where our kids are walking to bus stops and there are these blind curves and people going very fast. So that safe routes to school, we really don't have much of that. We want to continue support for our small businesses, including government. So we heard a little bit about that there. And we're also worried about the lack of emergency ingress and egress, especially when we have to evacuate for fire issues, wildfire, and we want wildfire mitigation. Road maintenance also came up, and we didn't use the S word over here, just pointing that out to our little group. Quietly, though. Transition from public to private and county land maintained. So we talked about the roads as well. That was the discussion there, where we have public roads, we have private roads. People don't understand the difference and how they're maintained. Map changes. So we do know, because we've had lots of discussions, especially in this room, we've had lots of discussions about designation. So right now we don't have any land that could be zoned for a park. So that would have to be something that would be a map change. And we took a look at these maps where there's really some county-owned land and maybe some privately owned land we could look at, and some residential development, talking about some of that and maybe declaring it surplus so that we could use the land, or maybe some trade. Phil had a great idea. Maybe we trade up with somebody for some good land that could give us a park. Trail development, state parks to Kids Corner. So there's an ongoing interface, a group looking at that. And also lake access. So we don't have a pool here in the Kelseyville Riviera, and so to learn to swim, we need some place, and especially the lakes. And also there's a lot of people who live here that don't have a public place to launch their boat. So they have a boat sitting there and no public place to do that. And we didn't really feel that we needed boundary change. When you look at this, we kind of feel that we are all a unique little group, kind of along Soda Bay and all along here up to the state park, and we kind of feel that represents us pretty well.
Well done. It is exciting to see that the common themes resonated on either table. Sounds like we're all concerned about wildfire mitigation, evacuation in case of emergency, looking for some community gathering areas, and safe recreational opportunities like trails and throwing a frisbee on a field, something like that. So that's very helpful. It's very helpful in the community visioning period when there seems to be consensus already amongst the community as to what the priorities are. So thank you very much for your input.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
The biggest thing that we had at our table was improving the lake. The lake has to get taken care of.
Yep.
Because it's getting worse all the time.
prioritizing lake health. Yes, absolutely. I hope we got that on the poster. We did. Very good. All right.
I have a couple of reminders to close up.
Go right ahead.
Okay, Maria's done lots of talking. Just a couple of reminders, if you haven't already completed one of our surveys, please do that. You can do it on paper, or there's some cards with a QR code that takes you straight to the survey. We would really appreciate that input as well. You can fill out your Post-it with what you think of the future of Kelseyville Riviera and put it right up here. We're collecting this data as well. Everything tonight is a data point, so we're trying to collect as much input as we can. And yes.
I have been telling people it's really short.
Can you get her the microphone?
I actually had my friend on her phone pull it up and did it just in a matter of minutes. So if we really push and remind
The survey.
it's that quick.
It is, and it is easily done on a phone as well. So here's the card with the QR codes. You may take some of those and hand them out to friends. And I think Tammy has an announcement as well.
And before she does that, let's just give one more plug to the local area plan advisory committees. It's a 9-person committee representing the Riviera's planning area. There will be one spot for tribal representative, one for environment. I think there's one for business owner, and then one for each of the HOAs to represent, and then a number of public at large. So all members on this advisory committee just need to live within the planning area. So please just grab an application on your way out or fill it out and leave it with me. It'll be awesome. Thank you so much. And then over to Tammy.
Okay, I look this time. So we are having a volunteer fair. It's called Love Where You Live. It is Love, L-U-V, Love, or Lake Unites Volunteers. We are looking for both people to table that have volunteer opportunities to offer, and people to come and look at those or search or shop for those volunteer opportunities. So it's going to be on April 30th at the Kelseyville Presbyterian Church. If you are interested, I have flyers, or you can email me or talk to me right now, and I will give you the link to register. Thank you.
Awesome. So I want to thank you again, everyone, for taking time out of your evenings to give us your input. It's essential for our community visioning process. Feel free the next time you happen to be hanging out with somebody and they're complaining about the way things are, tell them to go to lakecounty2050.org and fill out a survey. Thanks again, everyone.